hour. I remember nights in the tower. I do. She sucking my dick out the shower. Tell her be quiet, she told me fuck it even louder. Ayy, pay now, feet up. All of your sneakers is beat up. Percocet, geek up. You see the police and we speed up.
Give the players the new front office. He is going to be terrific. Hey, Paul George bouncing into defenders, lays it in, counted on a foul.
7 10-point leads this season. They've won every one of those games.
And there they go again. Nice deflection right there.
And the pull-up from downtown for Paul George. He is not disappointed. 13 for number 13.
Will fire from anywhere, as you just seen.
Lead trimmed into single digits. Paul George spots an entry to the rim, hit hard, counted on a foul, and send him to the line.
And here, he's going to have to keep this up.
But this is who he was all of last year. Counted on a foul, and send him back to the line. It's the Los Angeles Clippers. Paul George is out there. He's only played 18 minutes. Flings a three. He has 6 threes tonight and 37 points. He'll be out for probably another month or so with a suspension. Oh no. Paul George, make us proud. Bounces off the backboard. Ho-ho! Probably another month or so with a suspension. Oh no. Paul George, make us proud. Bounces off the backboard. Ho-ho! Montrezl Harrell does the rest.
They're saying defense to offense, Clipper fans. That's what you're going to see all year long. Gallo historically has always been a really good first half, first quarter player, so you got to do a good job on him early on.
Paul George continues to smolder, and I don't know what else you can say about him.
That's funny you say that. I mean, you got 3 guys that are motivated to really come out here and play well today.
The step away from Paul.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. There's nothing worse than an unnatural bounce.
Marcus Smart, oh, what a pass, and then a block. Paul George with the rejection.
Zubac rebounds the miss. But they really rely on him. Paul George. Little stroll down the lane. JaMychal Green to Harkless. Harkless feed inside to Paul George. Off balance, count it, and 1. These two teams getting after it. Paul George, corner 3. That's good. Clutch shot from George, and it's back to 2. Barely has the loose ball. Green to George for a corner 3. Yes, sir! 2-point game.
Patrick Beverley made a great rotation, stepped up to take the charge, and Morant went straight up and came straight down.
George for the lead. Got it! He is bounced around, a man almost without a home. Here's a breakaway for George with no one really to beat his finger over it. It's crazy. I don't even get surprised by it, though, anymore. Here's Paul George down the lane, down the hatch, counted on a foul. Last year, in terms of points scored together, they've only gotten better. How about a turnover? Here comes Paul George. Oh, my! He covered a lot of ground from takeoff to touchdown. Paul George.
For Lillard.
For 3. Paul George.
Clippers 3 for 5. Clippers have outscored the Bucks 9-4. After trailing by as many as 15. A deep 3 for Paul George. Book it for Paul George. George and Leonard play catch late in the clock for Paul George. Bledsoe recovers. DiVincenzo blocked by George. Loose ball picked up by Matthews, blocked by Leonard.
Always in the corner. I mean, he does a good job of positioning himself like that.
Paul George is alone for the breakaway, goes up with the right hand and stuffs it through. And so the Clippers try to regain some of that momentum. George finds a seam to the rim with the right hand and lays it in. Minutes of play in this first half. And the Clippers lead by 6. George for another 3. Same result. And the Clippers now beginning to smolder to close out by 13. Crowd surrounding George, but he maintains the dribble. Creating space for 3. 6 threes for Paul George.
Yeah, okay. Paul George, I mean, able to create the space with those step backs and pull back dribbles. Connell might shoot more mid-range jump shots than anybody in the league.
George again, 7 threes. Leonard to George. He's been quiet tonight. Into the paint. Into the well for Paul George, and the Clippers lead by 7. Hybrid between Russell Westbrook and Jamal Crawford. George colliding with defenders and lays it in. George. How about the handle? Cradles the ball to the rim. Counted and a foul.
It's the perfect time to do it right now.
George accelerates. Goes down the lane. Looks like he's playing hopscotch. Counted and a foul and send him to the line. Time he moves to his left.
You like this matchup if you Paul George.
Does he like it? He cashes in. The Clippers by 5.
They'll run wide pin downs for guys like Kawhi Leonard. He'll just back you down, and you see PG knocking down another triple.
Easy when you're happy. You know, it's easy when you're happy. You're in a nurturing, good environment, and that's no indictment on anybody, but this NBA is like that.
Will you please get up and play the screener so that they cannot turn the corner and get that 10 to 12-foot jump shot?
George up, under, and in. Timeout, Minnesota. George, the drive to the rim. Yes. Timeout, Minnesota. Gets his first rebound. Throws it away. George gets it back with Oubre to beat it. He flushes it in. And stares him down after the flush.
Right away, they're talking, and all of a sudden, PG said, "Oh man, I'm gonna get you back and put you in the rim and stare him down."
Bridges did a pretty good job on Leonard in that game in late October. George gets below the dotted line, puts it up and in, counted and a foul.
Leonard pops it out. Here's Beverly wide open. Passed on the shot. George takes it. Hits. Beverly with the rebound. Here's George. Yes! Another 3 for George. Leonard and George. Paul George now with 6 3-pointers. Here's Westbrook. Oh, he's rejected by George.
You know, a couple years ago in Toronto, he really started shooting that 3 and shooting it well.
George, counted and a foul. Bonds with his 3rd rebound. Zoo's line here, multitasking. 5 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Gets a screen assist on the previous possession and gets another screen assist. Paul George with back-to-back threes. Taken away by Danny Green, his former Raptor teammate. Kuzma gets inside, blocked by George. Knocked it off the backboard, and Patterson will have a dunk down the other end.
Right now, a 7-point game. Paul George
Banks it home as the shot clock expired.
This team goes with Donovan Mitchell. So, for me, he needs to be an all-star.
Level Larceny, here's George. Takes it to the house and punches it in with the right hand.
Prize pickups for the Jazz. The front office continues to do a great job in Salt Lake, but he is out. Hasn't really found his rhythm. Here's a guy looking for his rhythm and perhaps found it there. A 3 by Paul George.
Barnes down the lane. No, and Walton Jr. has the loose ball. Clippers hunting for the lead. George spoon feeds Zubac at the cup, and he powers it in with 2.
Can't let Marcus Morris Sr. get to the middle. Wow.
Foul charge number 9, R.J. Barrett, second personal, first team.
5-2 start for Sacramento. They lost last night at home in the capital city as Paul George lays it in.
Wide open looks, he's going to start to warm up on you.
Clippers by a dozen. Great feed in from McLaughlin. Better block from Paul George. George showing off the handles and then shows off the touch. George got it!
Ease with which they shoot it from 36 feet. And I think George had the stat that Lillard shooting like 43% from 40 feet or something crazy like that. Paul George drains a three.
The rough one last night in Utah for the Portland Trailblazers. Damian Lillard, you feel for them with how hard they are playing. Here's Paul George. Oh, a seductive ball fake. Gets a couple of defenders to do a flyby, and he lays it in. George spins away from Drummond, gets the contact, counted on a foul, and give him one more on the house. He added more three-point shooting. It could happen. George, a step-away three on cue, 69-43.
I love everything about him. I mean, he plays with the correct mindset.
George, a step-away mid-range shot, and he pours it in. He had the first bucket for the Clippers. That's his second.
Lisa Zubac is doing a phenomenal job pushing Valanciunas out of his space, which allows Paul George to finish with authority.
Surrounded by white shirts, has his footing taken away. Clippers recover. George down the lane. The floater is good. 89-77.
Rebounds and blocks, and he's only playing 18 minutes a night. Murray turns it over. He thought he was fouled. Paul George goes and finishes. Millsap thought about a foul, but backed off. 5 to shoot. Paul George. He's 5 of 6 from downtown.
Just a second foul for Denver in this fourth quarter. Paul George stops, fades, fires, and fills it up.
24 for Paul George.
But Mike, he was so well coached at SMU. They were an excellent team in his career there as Horford picks up his third.
Count it and one.
4-2. Biggest lead for the Clippers, 29. George. Oh, what a pretty move that was.
Montrezl Harrell has come on for the Clippers. Well, the best bench in the NBA. George, nice hesitation. He got hit. And he'll go to the line for the three-point play. Minute and a half left here in what has been an intense first couple of quarters. Paul George goes and banks it home. You guys were remarking during the last time out just how hard both these teams are playing. Paul George with the three-pointer.
Into a three-point shot.
Bradley short that time. Lou Williams racing up the floor. Finds George, steps back, another three. Got it! Paul George lighting it up, and he forces the Lakers to call time.
They have as good a two-way wings as we've seen in this league since Jordan and Pippen.
George, the pull-up three. He cans it. The Warriors are shooting 52%, and they're down by 17. George is really feeling it. Another three ball.
Beverly comes away with rebound number 4. Clippers looking for the lead. George to the rack, reverse layup. Oh my! Reorganizes in mid-flight, lays it up and in, counted on a foul.
Because he's willing to give it up, he changes gears, Paul George, and